Welcome back to Ugly Truck. Today we've got a 5.3 LS engine that we're going to get ready to replace the 4.8 that is in our 70 C10 shop truck. So stay tuned.
All right, like Emily said, we've got a 5.3 liter here that we're going to put in the shop truck that we have. It's got a 4.8 in it right now. It's developed some problems, so we went and we bought this. Our favorite, a 2005 Chevy Suburban is what we bought, and it's got this has 175,000 miles on it. I wish it had less miles on it than that, but it ran good. It doesn't make any noise or anything, so there's no reason why we wouldn't use it. But we are gonna put new front crankshaft seal on it, new rear main seal, a high volume oil pump, and new oil pan gasket. So that's what we'll do to freshen this thing up. We're gonna do a portion of it on the, with it still on the cherry picker. It's a lot easier to do the rear main like that. We'll take the oil pan off with it hanging upright still, so any junk that would possibly be in the pan, it'll still be there when we pull the pan off, so we can see that. This has also got the famous studs, or yeah, the bolts broke off into the cylinder heads for the exhaust manifold, so we're gonna fix those and just have the thing ready to go in the truck, and hopefully it'll go another 100,000 miles or so. So we'll start by taking the flywheel off. Wow. Well, we're loosening these up, so makes it a little easier, I think. Here she goes. Alright, so it's a lot easier to take the rear main seal off with it not being on the engine stand, so okay, alright, so that's the rear main seal. We'll definitely want to replace that now versus taking the tranny out later on and doing it. Take a look at the crankshaft. Make sure it doesn't have a giant groove worn in it. Looks pretty good. So, alright, so at this point, we can get it bolted on the engine stand so we can rock it over and turn it upside down. Put that pin in there. Hurry.
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 Shoot, that was close. Very close. Wow. Comes the mess. That's how you get all the water out of it. Okay, so we took the oil pan off this. Everything that was in the bottom of the oil pan, it seemed pretty normal. No glittery pieces of aluminum or metal or anything. A little bit of sludge, like this kind of sludge that's built up on from maybe not having it serviced enough. They changed their oil a little more often, it might not be like that. So other than that, nothing to give us any like warning signs that something's going bad in it. Like the pickup tube, it's completely clean. There's nothing in it. If there was anything at all in there, I would take and pull the main caps off and check them out and see if they have any wear. But there's no reason to. I'm gonna go with it's probably okay, and we'll put a high volume oil pump on it and go from there. So in order to do that, first thing to do, take the pickup tube off of it. One thing that happens on these is this O-ring seal that goes to the oil pump from the pickup tube. It can get brittle and kind of shrink and lose its seal. So just that alone, if I wasn't replacing the oil pump with a high volume oil pump, I would still at least take this pickup tube off and make sure it has a new seal here, and I'll show you that seal here in just a second. Okay, so this oil pickup tube, it seals to the oil pump from an O-ring, and okay, so you see how, just like any other gasket, it's got a couple of flat spots on it now. When I pulled it out of that, it does not fit very tight. It's pretty loose. Okay, so there's a real good chance that it could have been losing a little bit of oil pressure off of that. So no matter what, like I said, if I wasn't doing the oil pump, I would have pulled this pickup tube off, cleaned the tube really good, and at least replaced that seal with a LS that's got over 150,000 miles on it. That thing would cause big problems. So in order to get to the oil pump, which is mounted on the front of the crankshaft, we have to remove the harmonic balancer and the front timing cover, and then the oil pump's underneath that. So we'll start by undoing the harmonic balancer, crankshaft bolt. All right, that's a 24 millimeter bolt on the crankshaft on an LS motor. There you go. They come out hard sometimes. I used to be able to just twist them out with my fingers.
Yeah.
That's how strong I was. Wow. Okay, so in order to remove a crankshaft or a harmonic balancer on an LS, you got to have a special puller for it. It uses a rod to push against the inside of the crank. It's got a couple little flat spots back here that this reaches in and grabs hold of. So so you put it in there like that. Okay. Oh, it's still gonna pop again.
Oh, party foul.
Arc. And so with that tool, these come off pretty easy. I've never really had to fight one off. They're press fit on. They don't have a keyway. Gotta put the longer pin in now. Probably could have just done it with that longer one on this one. Might have done it. Huh? That one is?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, it is. Huh. All right, so that's the extent of getting the balancer off of one of them. Ooh, it's bent. Okay, so gotta get the timing cover off. Okay. Need a engine stand that's about a foot taller.
Yeah, this one's like my size.
Whoops. Okay, so there's the front timing cover. And this is the oil pump. Okay? Alright, the oil pump on this it's held on by these 4 bolts. Alright, so that's all it takes to get the oil pump off of it. That's where that O-ring ran. Okay, so we won't be using this any longer. Good, so timing chain. It's got a pretty good amount of play in it. So we'll replace that. It's got a mark right here. We got to roll it around and line them up. So yeah, just to roll it over, I'll put the flex plate back on it. Now I can turn it over. Where'd that mark go? Okay. So there's a mark on the crankshaft pulley right there, and there's a mark on this one. Okay. You see them?
Yep.
Okay, this is camshaft sprocket, and never to be used again. So next we got to take the crankshaft sprocket off of it, and I'll do it with this thing. All right, these come off pretty easy usually. Okay.
Got it.
And these do have a keyway. Okay, so that's what holds them on the crankshaft on their spot. All right. Okay, so we got a Chloe's timing chain set here. The chain I'm gonna take and set it, just let it sit in some oil. Put a little oil on the sprocket. All right, so let's we'll start putting things back together here. I got the thrust surface. I got a little bit of oil on the thrust surface of the camshaft gear. So we'll just set that there for now. And this piece. Okay. So I keep the old one around. This will have to be tapped down a little bit. You'll hits the end there. Definite sound. All right. Okay, so you line those two back up, or make sure they're lined up. Chain.
There you go.
Okay, so I got my camshaft sprocket, my crankshaft sprocket lined up with each other.
Yep.
All right, so the camshaft gear bolts, they get tightened down to 26 foot-pounds. Go around a couple times just to check. All right, so cam gears are installed now. Now we can put the oil pump on. I'll show you what I do. All right, so on these oil pumps, there's a lot of different O-ring seals that go on the LS engine, and there's some instructions in the packet for milling that tell which one you need. So make sure you read that. Don't throw it away. This is to change the pressure on the pump. I want the stock pressure, but this is a high volume oil pump, so I don't use that. But we can put this on now. So, oil pump, torque it 18 foot-pounds. Double check each one of them. Okay. Alright, so like I said, this is a high volume oil pump. It's not high pressure. It's going to maintain the same engine oil pressure, but I think it advertises like it puts out 30% more volume. So as your bearings get some clearance in them, things like that, you want to make sure you get oil that's getting all the way to the top of the engine. So that oil pump that's putting out a higher volume is going to be a better chance of that happening. So we've done that in about pretty much every one we've done, haven't we?
I think so.
We haven't had any problems with them going another 100,000 miles. Even if I'm just changing the timing chain on something for somebody, I always just go ahead and do that. Even if it's got over 150,000, I'd replace it. So then to prime the pump, this is what I do. Fill it full of oil. Okay. So by doing that, it'll have oil pressure instantly when it cranks up. Okay, so our O-ring. So ours had a red O-ring in it, okay? So Melanie wants you to use the green O-ring. That's where reading the instructions comes in handy. Because if a person had put that black one in there, you wouldn't have any oil pressure. Give it a little bit of lubricant. Just luber up a little. If this thing was gummed up with anything, I wouldn't reuse it. It looks like brand new inside. Nothing in it. so there's a little lip that O-ring seal sits down over. And putting it in there, you can feel that thing, it went in there like twice as tight as when it came out. So that O-ring that was on there, most likely was probably losing a little bit of oil pressure.
Hey, what are you eating? What is it?
Plastic.
Can I have it? Can't
no.
have it.
Bring it here. Hey, bring it over to me. Come on, bring it here.
I feel like it's a trap.
Huh?
I feel like if I come over, there's some kind of trap.
Okay, so the brackets that hold the pickup tube, I torqued those down to 18 foot-pounds. The bolt that goes to the oil pump, it gets torqued down to 106 inch-pounds. So, oil pump's installed, pickup tube's installed. Doesn't hurt to give it a little bit more oil. I get accused of over lubricating things all the time, but that doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, you're the WD-40 kid, so I don't know what people expect.
Yeah, that's right. So by filling that pickup tube up, it's just gonna run more oil through the oil pump and make sure everything's lubed up good. So now we have to clean up our gasket surfaces. And we will put the timing cover back on the front and basically do the reverse of what we just did. You want to work on cleaning the stuff that's got to be cleaned in the parts washer? Big time help over here right now. Huh? You help it? Like I mentioned before, on almost every LS engine I've seen, it will break off a exhaust manifold bolt. This one, you can see the high temperature silicone on it that somebody tried to get it to seal instead of fixing it. That won't work on these. The reason these things break is because you got a cast iron exhaust manifold on an aluminum head, and they both expand and contract at a different rate, and it just ends up breaking those bolts just by the amount of movement that they have. So we'll put all new bolts in it again, and the new bolts seem to hold up a little bit better than the original equipment ones. So sometimes they're broke off where they have a little piece stuck out on them. You can put a vice grip on them and pull them out, but this one's not. It's in there pretty good. So you end up drilling it out. Take a center punch, try and find the center of that bolt the best you can. So get yourself a good place to start drilling it. So I think this is an 1/8 inch bit. Plug your hole if you have the So try and drill it in there straight. Take a look at it. Once you've started and see how you're doing. Every once in a while, stop and check. Make sure you're going straight. Then once you get in there, you don't want to go through the head. So check how far in you are. So I got about that much further to go to get to the end of the bolt. Let's see, was that it? Yep. All right, so I hit the end of the bolt, and it actually, I could feel it drop through once it passed to the bottom of the hole. So it's all the way through. Give it a little bit of WD-40. I've been spraying it once in a while. A stud extractor, okay? And I like to use my small vice grip. And I lightly start tapping on it and put a little pressure on it. Come on. Okay, so that stud extractor, it's got like some threads that thread into it in reverse. And as you basically make a left-hand turn to remove it, it's actually it tightens up inside that hole that you drilled and grabs a hold and pulls it out. If it wouldn't have come out with this one, I would have drilled the hole just a little bit bigger, being real careful not to get into the threads at all. And like this one, you can see I didn't drill the hole quite through the center, but it was good enough that I didn't hit the threads any. That's why I start off doing it with an eighth inch. You want to do that now before you put the engine in. If a person wasn't paying attention, you might not have even seen that too, and went ahead and put the motor in, and then found out that is busted off. And then it is much more difficult with it in the truck. So do them now. You'll be happy that you did. If you end up sending a head in and they're busted off, a machine shop charges like $8 a stud or something like that. I highly recommend letting them do it for $8 a stud. But it's not hard to fix it yourself. So okay, we're at the point we're going to put this thing back on the cherry picker so we can do the rear main seal. Then we'll do the front cover, and then we can put the oil pan back up on it. Does it look like it's going to be fast?
Oh yeah. Yeah, right here, 706, 706 horsepower. You know? Yeah. What those numbers mean.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Alright, so that's how I get the rear main out. Now, we gotta put a rear main in it.
That's how that works.
So, these seals, they go in one way, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They have a direction. Which way do you think they would go?
I think that's the front.
This one?
No.
That's the front?
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Oh.
The white dot goes to the outside.
That's what I said.
No, that's not what you said.
Oh.
Pretty much just press fit in. You can push them in with your fingers.
Could you lay the old one on top of that and then tap it in with a hammer?
Sure. Good. I guess if you're not super strong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this little thing in here, that's keeping the shape of the seal, okay?
Okay.
Because without it, that seal would retract basically. It'd be pretty difficult to put it over the rear main. So I'm gonna put a little bit of assembly lube basically on the crank, just for something to lubricate the seal going on it. That up there. Okay. That's why that little thingy is called the seal installer. And I do not have the special tool to put the seal housing on there straight, but the seal is going to hold it in its place. If I put that seal on backwards, what do you think could happen?
Nothing.
The engine runs in reverse.
Oh, that's not what you want.
Okay, so if you read the procedure for putting one of these seals in, there's a tool to center this thing because that thing, it moves that much, okay? But the seal centers it. So I take a straight edge along the block here and I just make sure that it's straight there. That's what you're trying to center. So straight right there. That. All right. And these have a torque spec or a torque sequence. I think it starts with this one and just works its way around. Snug some of them down and check it again. Okay. If you don't do that, it'll make your oil pan leak. All right, so these get torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. All right, Flexplate lines up with that little hole right there. It only goes on one way. Remember what they get torqued to?
3 passes, 15, 37, and 74.
So I'm going to take each one of these, just get them started there. Each one of them, I'm going to give just a dab of blue Loctite. If Emily was doing this, it would look like the bolts were completely blue. I'm almost out of blue Loctite, most likely because of Emily, right? So, run it down. What's the next one?
37.
Okay, what's the next one?
74.
All right, also, while we're talking about it, this Flexplate, the original equipment ones, that hole right there, if you tighten that one up first on the torque converter, you can just tighten it and then turn it and then do that one and that one. One of our subscribers reminded me of that. That totally works. I've done a few of these, so even when I do the next one, I'm so untrusting. I'll probably still just leave them loose and make 2 passes around, but that does work, to just tighten that one first, and then the other 2 holes are so they're big enough that they hit. So that guy reminded me of that, and I appreciate it. We'd love your comments, because a lot of times I just do things the way that I started doing them years ago when I started doing this stuff, and so sometimes people will tell us stuff that either we didn't know or it reminds us, but we still love it. So aside from that, a lot of times we learn a lot from comments. That's what's great really about people that are mechanically inclined, mechanics and that. they're all like real open-minded, and when somebody else comes up with a new idea to do something or whatever, and they just jump right in, they go, yeah, I'm more than willing to try something different or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about all the arguments I've ever seen about electric cars, fuel injection.
Nobody really is opinionated about anything, and I mean, I haven't really met anybody that liked a Ford more than a Chevy or
no,
anything like that.
Don't think so.
Foreign cars versus domestic cars or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They just greet you with open arms, whatever you're into.
Yeah. I said on TikTok one time that we were gonna put fuel injection on a Trans Am, and everyone yelled at me.
Well, I don't know. That's weird because like most people with cars is like they're just like super open-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's gonna go over. Yeah, all joking aside, most mechanical people, no.
No.
Well, I've worked by myself forever. It's my way or no way.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Alright, so like I said, use the old one. Pound it in evenly. Fill it real good and make sure it's perfectly flat. It's not in there at an angle. Emily cleaned this. If I had cleaned it, it would be much nicer.
Well, nobody sees that part.
Oh, I see. All right, so shout out to Felpro again. My favorite.
Yeah.
Not Felt Pro. Don't even say it. Okay?
You love my jokes.
No.
No.
Oh, and I got it going backwards. Why don't you tell me I was doing it backwards?
You're doing it backwards.
Okay. So 4 of the bolt holes have the little rubber things to help hold them in there. Okay?
Okay.
You like that?
I like that.
I like that.
More jokes that no one will ever understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I cleaned all the surfaces off already. So this one goes on just like that. What's nice about LS too, the pan bolts and the timing cover bolts, exactly the same.
Sweet.
A lot of the bolts are exactly the same. On the LS motors too, on the front covers, they are doweled now, so it only goes on in one spot, but it's silicone too. There's no gasket or anything.
Huh.
Or no, the LT motor.
On the LTs, yeah.
Yeah, so
Huh.
I haven't got to tear one of them apart that far yet, but I'm kind of excited about it. All right, so this one, same thing. It can move around quite a bit on the bolts, so you have to have something to center it. They make a tool to center this. I don't use the tool. I use the harmonic balancer. I'll put it on, and then I'll do the exact same thing I did on the rear mains with a straight edge, making sure that it's sitting straight on the engine block for the oil pan gasket. I do it right now, but I cannot find my tool that I pulled the harmonic balancer in with. So in the morning, I'm gonna run to O'Reilly's and rent one. Or I could have you run to O'Reilly's. They like you better.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know why. Every time I walk in there, they go, "Where's Emily?" I don't know. Sorry. But that's how I do that. You gotta learn ways to get around buying the $100 and some tool that you gotta have to do that kind of stuff. It's just, a lot of it's not realistic. You don't have it, but you gotta be a kind of a MacGyver and figure it out yourself and make things happen. As long as you do it right. I've done it this way. What? 100 times at least.
Oh, for sure.
And I've never had one leak.
Yeah.
So that's why I love LS motors too, because I put these things together and they do not leak. All right, so I found my bolt this morning, or my harmonic balancer installer. I made this thing a long time ago. So I'm gonna put the balancer on there, and so the harmonic balancer is gonna center the seal, and then once it's centered on the seal, then I'll make sure that it's sitting flat on each end of the engine block. All right, so in order to do that, I got the new seal in there, of course, and put a little bit of assembly lube on the balancer. Put my bolt in. Okay. All right. And these are a press fit in, so you have to have an installer for them. Like I said, I made this one, but you can buy them. They're less than 15 bucks. All right, I'm not going to draw it all the way in. I'm going to leave it there. All right, so it's the balancer has got it centered on the seal. Okay, so the seal is centered. So down here, see, make sure it's tight there. Okay. On the other side, check it. Looks good, right?
Yep.
Okay. Check it again after a tighten one. There. Check this one again. All right, and it's nice and straight. So. And these get torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. Oh. Okay, so that's how I do it without having the special alignment tool for the front cover. So it has always worked perfectly fine for me. This isn't drawn in all the way yet, but it will be once I put the bolt back in it. So now we are ready to put the oil pan on. Okay, so I took this and I cleaned it up real nice in the parts washer.
Did you?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And got all the sludge out of the bottom of it. It wasn't that much. The original seal that comes on these, they're riveted on, so I had to just drill the rivets out to get the old gasket off. This gasket has got 4 of the holes that are have a little bit of rubber right there to hold the bolt in if you're doing it upside down. Okay. And you want to do the ends where they meet the covers. It's got little spots where they want a little dab of ultra black or ultra gray. So I'm going to put it right there, and it's got a little spot for it right there, and also one right there. We can put the oil pan up and torque it, and we're all done.
Yay.
There you go.
Change some threads.
All right, so get all your bolts started before you tighten them up. All the oil pan bolts get tightened to 18 foot-pounds. Alright, and the two smaller end ones, they get tightened to 106 inch-pounds.
That sounds like a lot.
No, it's not. It's not very much.
106 is more than 18.
Inch-pounds. Okay.
How many corns is that?
That's 4 cords.
4 corns? Okay.
Alright, so it's ready to go in.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, we've got this thing back together. A little recap on what we did. We pulled the pan, made sure there wasn't any bearing material or anything sitting in the pan. If there had been, we wouldn't have done anything to it. We only spent about $300 on what we did, so if Emily can keep her foot out of the gas on this thing, we'll probably make it, another 100,000 miles out of it. So
I just like the noise it makes when I put my foot to the floor.
I know.
Yeah.
I know you do.
It goes fast.
Right.
And there is an automotive related movie reference in this video. If you can find it, let me know in the comments. First person with the right answer, I will send you a $25 O'Reilly gift card. We really appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe and ring the little bell so you get a notification, and we will catch you next time.